folks. How are you today, Pharmacist Ben?
I'm doing good, buddy. How you doing? Good
You
to see
know,
you.
I, I know you've been working hard.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
yeah, you're just a pretty hard-working man. I know you just got off a Zoom with Australia.
No, this week I do it every other Sunday or
Oh,
every
do
other
you?
Monday.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, in fact, I was going to call you and say we could do this a little earlier, but
You
I didn't.
know,
I
you know,
know, I know.
I
I
gotta
meant
get
to,
my act together because
but I do a radio show for Longevity every Monday, 2 hours earlier, six Mountain, so 8 your time.
AM or
What's
PM?
that?
PM?
Um, PM. Yeah, right 2 hours before this call, I do a show with Dave Michaels. You know Dave?
Yeah, Dave Cave. Yeah, I know Dave.
Dave K. Yeah. KSCO. It's called The Mineral Way, and it's just audio. I like audio. I don't have to get dressed up and deal with everything.
No, man, the ladies need to see who
All
is talking. They
right. See who's
need.
all
All right.
right. Let's get some ladies in here.
Well, a woman of the world says hi.
Who's
She's
woman of the world?
she's on YouTube. She says
Yeah.
hello. And I'm
Hello,
sure
woman of the world.
we got some of our folks on Rumble
Yeah.
saying hi as well. So
All right.
we're being well represented.
Let's talk about pillar number one before you even start talking. I'm going to talk about pillar number one. Where you see the problem is not where the problem begins. You got to go upstream. Pillar number two, all health challenges are pretty much the same from that perspective. It's true that the flavor, the icing on the cake could be a little bit different depending on what your health challenge is, but the cake itself, the bulk of the health challenge you're dealing with when you go upstream, it's pretty generic. It involves metabolism, digestion, toxicity, malnutrition, malnourishment. It's the same basic things. And it's mostly a mental block that we have that keeps us from connecting the eyes to the intestine. And I'm not being facetious here. I'm saying it's not intuitive to say that there's a relationship between my eyes and my intestine, right? My glaucoma and my intestine. I did a whole talk on the triangle of disease, including the third point, which we haven't even talked about that much lately, but I did a whole triangle of disease, and I spent maybe 45 minutes or so talking, and then took some questions. The first question was, what can I do about my glaucoma? And I can understand because I had just spent 45 minutes talking about how all diseases, digestion and blood sugar and adrenal thyroid, but there's just a disconnect. It doesn't seem like I got an eye problem. How's that related to my digestion and my blood sugar, or to my tinnitus? In the case of that, somebody's going to ask about tinnitus. You accept it as an axiom. You know what an axiom is in mathematics? An axiom is just a first, you're not deriving it from anything else. It's the starting point. And that's what a first principle is. It's a starting point. Your starting point for this, the way this whole game is played. I mean, it's a game, but it's a process. The way this whole process is done, the starting point is at the level of the digestion and the metabolism, the blood sugar. If you work on those two places, almost all your chronic diseases are going to begin to resolve. And if they're not resolving, then you haven't worked effectively on those two places. And so, I'm going to repeat myself over and over again, that I'm just going to keep saying it, the same thing, but you'll hear when I talk about, the guy with tinnitus, I'll say the same thing as the person who has, who's the other person you said? There was a gal who had some kind of, AJ, what was the other one?
Well, we got a number of them, but
I'm going to say the same thing.
One was tinnitus, thyroid.
Right.
You're gonna.
All right, let's go. Let it rip.
But give the folks some grace. Some of the people have never heard the message, but one thing I just wanted to point out to you is that we are getting some traction. Things that you've said are now in the lexicon.
Like what?
If I don't go to a famous person said recently, about a month ago,
Yeah.
I don't go to a doctor for my, he didn't say chronic health, but he said for my daily health challenges. He said, if I break my arm, I'm going to go to the doctor.
Yeah, there you go.
But this was a quote. I mean, like, if you heard the quote,
It was something I said.
I said that.
All right. That's okay. Hey, look, I'm happy if people take what I say and they take the ball and run with it. More power to them. My goal is to get myself out of the way. The job of every good healthcare professional is to make themselves irrelevant, out of the picture, and that's a dream come true. And everybody can do this themselves. And by the way, if you're out there listening, we can help you. We can train you in how to do this and show you how this game is played, how this process is done. How you can look at a person's face. You can ask a few key questions on the telephone. Even you don't even have to be in person. Just ask a few key questions on the telephone. I do a skin all the time. I'll ask questions about hair. I'll ask questions about digestion. I'll ask questions about body type, frame of the body. There's certain key questions that you can ask. And when you're looking at somebody, you can assess certain things. We can teach you how to do that. If you're the kind of person like a nerd like me, and like AJ and Rebecca and Ruth Ellen, all the people who are involved with longevity at this level, if you're nerds like us about nutrition and about health, we can help you get good at this. And it's my great dream to have myself eliminated out of the picture so you can do this yourself.
All right, folks. So keep in mind, if you have questions, if you're on Rumble, I don't see any questions yet. I don't see any questions coming in from YouTube. But if you've got questions, don't wait till the 50th minute to start putting them in, because Pharmacist Ben's time is
hard stop,
valuable.
as they say. Hard stop.
Hard stop. All right, we're going to start with our good friend Penny. Hi, I'm 71 years old. I've been on the 90 for life and gluten-free for several years now. I was 5'10". Now I'm closer to 5'9". I weigh 200 pounds. I take NP thyroid for hypothyroid. I used to have stage 3 chronic kidney disease, but following doc's advice and supplements, my kidney doctor told me I didn't need to see him as my labs were normal. I had mild to moderate spinal stenosis and cervical lumbar spine for years. Lately, this is causing neurological problems. I don't want to have surgery. What supplements do I need?
Let's start with the top here. Before you said kidney disease, you said thyroid, right? Hypothyroid. And then it would give me the weight again was 200 pounds?
205.9, let's say.
Man or woman?
I'm going to assume Penny is a woman.
Okay, Penny's her name. Okay, 205.9. And did you say how old she was?
71.
Okay. Penny. You've been doing the wrong thing for a long time. Is she on the call? Is she on the...
Penny might be on the call. I addressed her a little bit earlier today.
All right. So Penny, this is a classic case of how the body breaks down. And she didn't say anything about her digestive system. She didn't say anything about foods. Guaranteed there's a food problem. That's first of all.
She says she's gluten-free.
That doesn't mean anything. Please don't say that.
You know I know, but I'm just mentioning.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I know. I'm sorry, Penny.
No worries.
Yeah, I get, that gluten-free, that phrase it just makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It's just it's so dumb because
it's what they're taught.
Because there's a zillion things and foods that could be a problem. And so gluten is like somehow the superstar of problems. It's not. Come on, guys. It's not, because people think they can eat their gluten-free pancakes.
Penny's on with us, by the way.
All right, so put Penny on if she can get it so I can ask her questions.
Penny, I'm going to send a link in the chat. You click the link and you can...
So let me go on my rant about gluten-free.
Go ahead.
Because there's gluten-free brownies and there's gluten-free pancakes and gluten-free this and gluten-free that. And we think I'm just going to eat my gluten-free brownies. But you don't realize that there's tons of other things in grains that are problematic, in corn and oats that aren't gluten. And so gluten-free is just like one thing. So when you say I'm gluten-free, that tells me she has a digestive issue. So otherwise, she wouldn't need to be gluten-free. So right away, you got a digestive issue. And what's interesting, and I'm not ripping on anybody here. I'm just pointing this out because it's interesting. She didn't mention that. But I can tell she has that by the fact that she's got kidney disease and she's hypothyroid, all of which leads me to understand that, and stenosis, I'll tell you how that happens here in a second. All those are implying intestinal problems. So kidney disease is caused by toxicity of the blood. and toxicity. I talk about toxicity in the blood a lot, but also the capillaries themselves, the blood vessels themselves can get damaged from inflammation from the blood. So it's not just is that Penny?
That's Penny.
Hi, Penny. She can't hear us. You can't hear us, Penny. No. Okay. All right. Well, can you talk? See if we can hear you, Penny. Penny? She can't hear us. You talk. All right. Well, I'm not gonna worry about it. So you can hear. She can't hear us. So it's not gonna do any good.
Might be he. All right, Penny, just go back to YouTube and type.
Can you hear me? Because I
there
can't
you go,
hear anything.
Penny.
All right, we hear you.
We hear Penny, but she can't
I'm
hear us.
not sure what the problem is.
Okay, well, at least we hear Penny. But it doesn't do any good if she can't hear us. So just go back to YouTube and you can watch on YouTube. I want it to be able to communicate. Kidney disease should always be regarded as a blood dysglycemia, blood sugar, blood toxicity, because sugar is the toxin, etc., and a problem with the blood vessels. How do toxins get into the blood? Through the digestive system. That's number one. Hypothyroidism is an autoimmune disease. The thyroid regulates the digestive system. So if you're hypothyroid, you're going to have digestive issues. And stenosis involves calcium, and calcium absorption and malabsorption are also intestinal issues. So between calcium, stenosis, kidney disease, hypothyroidism, 200 pounds and 5'9", there's so many places that you need to be working here. So you say, what do I take? If you just want to take something, Healthy Start Pack. And if you want to take some more, I-26, Nightly Essence, Daily Digest, Ultimate Enzymes, all the digestive support. And if you want to do something else after that, the blood sugar support, the sweeties. Treat yourself like a diabetic. Work on the digestive system. You're dealing with a general inflammatory problem. You're dealing with MBFA. My body is falling apart disease. The reason this is so important is because you can see how diverse all the symptoms are. You've got weight issues. You've got hypothyroid issues. You've got kidney issues. You've got stenosis issues. And those are the only things she mentioned. There's probably other things as well. So what you're dealing with is a whole bunch of things. How are you going to deal with all that separately? Oh, I'm going to take, hi, Penny, can you hear us? Still can't hear us. Okay. All right.
Penny, can you hear us?
I can't hear anything.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I don't know what the problem is.
All right. No worries. So do you understand what I'm saying here, AJ, and everybody listening? You look at all these places you got to work. Kidney disease, hypothyroidism, stenosis, weight issues. And there's probably other things going on as well. She's gluten-free, so obviously there's probably some digestive issues as well. What do you do when you have all of these different things? You go back to the head of the snake. You cut the head of the snake off. You go back to the root of everything, which is going to be the digestive system and the intestine, and then also the blood sugar system, the triangle of disease. Now, Penny's 71. So really, this problem has been going on for 7 decades. So if she's like most people, so you got a lot of work to do, but you've got a lot of places that you can work. As far as nutritional supplements go, Healthy Start Pack first, digestive supplements second, and then Healthy Blood Sugar Pack, or the additional nutrients, the sweeties, the ultimate niacin, the ultimate selenium for blood sugar, digestion, and blood sugar. Those are the place and the basic nutrients. One of the things that happens, by the way, Penny didn't mention this, but one of the things that happens when you have intestinal problems is not only do you deal with this leaky gut condition, and one of these days we'll talk about leaky gut, but basically what happens is the cells of the intestine, they inflame and they expand, and stuff starts to literally leak in. And when I say stuff, I mean food particles, immune cells, histamine, which is an allergic mediator, toxins from bacteria, and they call them endotoxins, little pieces of bacteria. Sometimes all bacteria can get into the blood. Usually it's little pieces that initiate this immune response in the blood. It's always going to be in the blood. Always, 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 always going to be in the blood. Because the blood makes stops at different organs, the problem could be anywhere because the blood is going on everywhere. So think about it this way. You got this toxicity in the blood, and the blood is circulating to to the liver and to the lungs and to the heart and to the brain and to the skin and to the kidneys and to the spleen, et cetera, et cetera. These are all represent stops along the road. And as these areas start to become toxic from the poisons in the blood, or robbed of oxygen from the low levels of oxygen in the blood, or lack of nutrient, starved from a lack of nutrients in the blood, you start to have problems with all these organs. And so you say, oh, I got an eye problem, I'm going to go to the ophthalmologist. Oh, I got a bone problem, I'm going to go to the osteopath. Oh, I got a heart problem, I'm going to go to the cardiologist. Oh, I got a brain problem, I'm going to go to the neurologist. You skin doctor, dermatologist, female health issues, OBGYN. We go to the places for all these stops, and we're missing the highway, the railroad, the train tracks, where all the toxicity is. And that's why nobody gets better. Listen, if I'm just talking, that's one thing, but I'm talking plus nobody's getting better. If it was just me and everybody's getting better and everything was hunky-dory, that would be different, but nobody's getting better. They're not helping us because we're going to get to treat where we see the problem. The problem is never where you see the problem. It's upstream. You got to go backwards. Go back the way you came. And it always is going to be in the blood, and then the digestive system and the blood sugar system.
Ben, just a quick follow-up. I got a couple things to say here. Penny mentions that her daughter is severe celiac. Did you catch the fact that Penny said that her doctor said don't come back for her kidney issue because the nutrients she had been taking from YGY helped her out significantly?
Significantly, yes. I'm not surprised. So she's on the right track. That's what's possible. That is what's possible, people. Rebecca has gotten people completely off of dialysis. Dr. Wallach has too. So there's all kinds of things that you can do when you have these health challenges. The kidneys are, I don't want to say the most important organs of the body, but they're incredibly important. That's why you got two of them. I mean, you could be at like 75%. If your kidneys aren't working, you only have 25% function, and you're okay. You don't even know it until you're like less than 30%. The kidneys, there's so much redundancy in there because they're so important. And so I'm not surprised that Penny did that, and you're on the right track, Penny. There's a lot more you can do.
On the topic of ears,
on the topic of what?
Ears.
Okay.
Hearing.
Yes.
Our title is "Did You Hear?" Pharmacist Ben on preserving our hearing.
Okay, clever.
On that topic, Dennis, who's very often on Rumble, one of our good friends, is asking, is there anything we can do to help our hearing as we get older?
Yes.
What kind of strategies might you suggest?
Anti-inflammation. You can't do ear exercises, unfortunately, but you can do anti-inflammation. The ears, the parts of the body that have these tiny little structures, we'll say, those are the ones that are the most vulnerable to inflammation and to toxicity and to malnourishment and to hypoxia, low oxygen. So that's what we just talked about the kidneys. Kidneys have all these microscopic capillaries. Can you imagine what a microscopic capillary is? I mean, it's a vessel that has all kinds of chemistry going on in it, but you can't see it. It's invisible. Can you imagine that? Isn't that amazing? You've got these invisible. You can't see it. It'd be right in front of you. You couldn't see it, but yet it's got all this action. Likewise, the hairs, they're not invisible. You can see them inside the inner ear. Likewise, the circulatory system in the brain. By the way, tinnitus is a brain issue. Sometimes you can have damage to the inner ear, but most of the time it's a brain issue, and it's an inflammatory issue. You have an immune system in your brain. You can get microinflammation in the brain. This is where Parkinson's disease comes from, and Bell's palsy, and dementias of all kinds, Lewy body dementia, Alzheimer's dementia. There's inflammation that happens in the brain. You have a sewage system in the brain. Your lymphatic system is your sewage system, right? Immune cells and toxins and old hormones, they travel through the lymph. The brain has its own lymph. They call it the glymph. The glymphatic system. And the glymphatic system accumulates waste. And you know what one of the best ways to get rid of waste in the glymphatic system is?
What's that?
This guy asked about his ears. And I'm talking about your brain. Because the brain, the ears are where the sound goes, but the sound is interpreted in the brain. And in the brain, as we age, this lymphatic system starts to accumulate waste. You know what the best way to clean out the lymphatic system is? The most important way? Sleep.
Wow.
Sleep. When we sleep, our glymph starts to the toxins clear out of our glymph. Lack of sleep is a red flag for brain disease, for dementias.
Where does it go?
Where does the waste go? Into the lymph, probably into the lymphatic system. Probably gets drained, or maybe the cerebral spinal fluid. I'm not sure, but it leaves the brain, and it leaves the brain when we get rest. When we rest. So keeping the brain clean is very important, and that means keeping the body clean for one thing. Sugar, type diabetes. Check this out. Type 3 diabetes, right, is Alzheimer's disease, right? Guess what? There's a type 5 diabetes.
Oh, no.
Type 5 diabetes. Guess what that is? This is really true. I just reading this last week. Diabetes associated with nutritional deficiencies.
Are
Dr.
you
Wall
kidding
is
me?
very, very proud.
When did they come up with this one?
I just read about it last week.
Wow.
Type 5 diabetes.
Wow.
You didn't ask me what type 4 diabetes is.
Yeah, what is type 4?
Type 4 diabetes is gestational diabetes.
Oh,
Type 5 diabetes is malnutrition.
Didn't they call that type 1 originally?
What's that?
Didn't they call that type 1?
Type 1 is autoimmune diabetes. Type 5 diabetes is officially diabetes that's associated by severe insulin deficiency, but the severe insulin deficiency is associated with chronic mal or undernutrition. So isn't that I thought that was kind of interesting.
And they're stating that?
Yeah, they're stating
and
they're
then
blaming on insulin. They're blaming it on insulin. But really, but malnutrition and undernutrition, or however you want to call it, is linked to the insulin problem.
And then during gestation, what's their reason that it occurs there?
Pregnancy completely throws off your blood sugar system. You got another body in there.
So they're saying the mom, they're not saying the baby.
No, the mom. Gestational diabetes occurs in pregnant women, somewhere in the middle of their pregnancy. It doesn't happen always, obviously, but it can happen. Anyway, tinnitus. If you want to keep your ears healthy, keep your brain healthy. That's the answer to that. There's no ear exercises or anything you could do for your ears, I don't think, that I know of. But the main problems with the ears are neurological. And the main way you deal with neurological issues is eliminate toxicity, and never forget sugar is a toxin. And neurological pain and neurological issues are associated with elevated blood sugar. And the nutrients that help your body process sugar, particularly thiamine, B1, but also probably to a certain extent inositol and chromium and vanadium and selenium, all of these other nutrients that help your body process sugar, they will also improve neurological conditions, particularly neuropathy. And if you're dealing with neuropathy, peripheral neuropathy, which is when your hands and feet and fingers and toes feel like they're on fire, can you imagine this? Your extremities feel like they're literally burning, but they're not burning. They just feel like they're burning.
It's a blood sugar issue to me.
It's a blood sugar issue, exactly. And you use blood sugar nutrients and you lower your blood sugar. It involves inflammation and glycation. And there's a really cool story, which I've told before, but that's how vitamin B1 was actually discovered, was when it was noticed that people who were deficient in B1 suffered from peripheral neuropathy. They started giving them B1 and the peripheral neuropathy went away. And this is how vitamins were discovered. Vitamin B1, thiamine, was discovered, is the first vitamin to be discovered as a treatment or cure for neurological issues. Neuropathy was just one of them, other neurological issues as well. And to this day, thiamine is used to treat psychoses, alcoholic psychoses. You know, the alcoholics, when they drink a lot of alcohol, the thiamine is used to help the body process alcohol. So they're deficient in thiamine. When you're deficient in thiamine, really, really deficient in thiamine, you get neurological issues, one of which is you go crazy. You get psychotic. You talk to, pink elephants and leprechauns and, the characteristic stereotype of the alcoholic who's just hallucinating. That's called alcoholic psychosis, i.e. Werner-Korsakoff syndrome. And thiamine is the treatment for that. They'll stick it right in your blood in the drunk tank. And it disappears right away. Goes away right away.
Well, speaking of pink elephants, clearly you're not as hip as you think you are because you're not familiar with ear push-ups. But then, just to
What are
stick
ear push-ups?
a bad joke. So, so,
Oh, that's
so,
oh.
so then, just sticking with the last ear question. I know you've talked about this before. Just want to give a preface before you say anything because you have a lot of Dr. Wallach acolytes here, and I know this is the divergence point when Doc talks about osteoporosis of the skull.
When he
And
talks about what?
osteoporosis of the
Yeah,
skull.
well, let's talk about osteoporosis
Wait,
of
wait,
the
wait,
skull.
wait, 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 wait. So the question is,
How does that relate?
well, the question is, are any of your products that deal with bone demineralization, which is why the doc says
Bones don't
causes
demineralize
tinnitus?
by accident. Bones don't just demineralize because they're like, let's demineralize today. We don't want to be mineralized. Let's demineralize. That doesn't happen. The body does things very logically. So why do bones demineralize? And this is where
Because the blood
osteoporosis.
is acidic.
AJ, congratulations. You win the gold. You get the gold star here.
Come on, man, I
That's
pay
awesome.
attention. When
You
Pharmacist
really
Ben
do.
speaks,
That's awesome.
AJ
That's
pays
awesome.
attention.
That's
And so does
awesome.
everybody else watching.
That's awesome. Osteoporosis is caused by a lot of things. It's MBFA. It's my body's falling apart disease. There's a lot of things that cause osteoporosis. It's a general deterioration of what part of the body. You have four types of stuff in the body, right? I call them
Connective
stuff.
tissue.
Exactly. Connective tissue. Deterioration of the connective tissue, which is what osteoporosis is, whether it's in the skull or the skeletal system or anywhere else. Deterioration of the connective tissue is a generic way the body breaks down. If you want to figure out, if you want to know what are those mechanisms for breakdown, it's the same thing. It's toxicity, including sugar. It's starvation, lack of nutrition. It is hypoxia, low levels of oxygen. That's it. Osteoporosis of the skull or of the bones or anywhere else is lack of nutrition in combination with hypoxia or inflammation, really. When we say hypoxia, some of that hypoxia means low blood oxygen. Oxygen is the most important component in the body that runs biology, more important than nutrition. The reason nutrition is so important is because it helps us with oxygen. You can't go 4 minutes without oxygen. You go 4 days without water. You can go 40 days without nutrition, but you can't go 4 minutes without oxygen. You can't go 3 minutes without oxygen.
I
Can you
can hold
imagine
my
this? 3
breath for
minutes.
3 minutes.
If you're good, you can hold your breath 3 minutes, but you can not much more. Can you hold your?
I can't hold my breath for 3 minutes.
I practice it, and I can do like a minute 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So, and I've been practicing. So the point is osteoporosis is general deterioration of the body. There's nothing special about it, and it's not a disease. Osteoporosis is not a disease, nor is tinnitus for that matter. These are symptoms. These are the rotten fruit from the lousy soil. So for osteoporosis of the skull or anywhere else, number one, you make sure you're getting the right nutrients, obviously, and that's the healthy bone and joint pack and other things too. Protein is very important. There's probably amino acids like the BCAAs, the branch chain amino acids. They're important. Of course, everybody knows about calcium. You there? Did I lose you?
No.
Okay. Everybody knows about calcium, but you need zinc, and you need magnesium, and you need strontium, and you need phosphorus. There's a whole bunch of minerals that go into making up the bone.
Did we lose Ben? Or we just lose me?
Did you lose me?
I think we did. All right. Well, you're back,
There?
though. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
I hear you. I don't know what happened. I got
We need strontium was the last
strontium and zinc and magnesium and calcium is important too, but there's all these other minerals that are important. So the healthy bone and joint pack. But remember, the bones and the connective tissue are not minerals. They're tissue. They're mostly protein. The minerals harden the tissue, but it's mostly collagen. So osteoporosis is wrinkles of the bone. Wrinkles on the skin are osteoporosis of the skin. It's the same mechanism. We talked about glaucoma a few years ago, or a few weeks ago. Glaucoma is deterioration of the connective tissue in the eye. Glaucoma is osteoporosis of the eye, or wrinkles of the eye, if you will. A couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, we were talking about somebody with UTIs, urinary tract infection. Was that here? That was on this show, right? So the lady had UTIs. UTIs are also the end result of deterioration of the connective tissue in the urinary tract. So urinary tract infections, chronic urinary tract infections, interstitial cystitis, and problems with UTIs, chronic UTIs, or any just general UTIs are connective tissue deterioration. So this is a global thing. The connective tissue breaks down as we get older. Malnutrition starts to the impact of malnutrition. That includes toxicity, and that includes sugar, hypoxia, all of these things. They all conflate. And so this is good news because these are all places we can work. So how did we get to talk about the connective tissue? What were we talking about here?
Tinnitus, osteoporosis of the skull.
Oh yeah, osteoporosis. You're talking about osteoporosis of the skull. Yeah, there's probably osteoporosis of the skull that's involved, but that's not the cause. The cause is the inflammation and toxicity and malnutrition and hypoxia. So yes, you could say osteoporosis of the skull, but that doesn't help you. Yes, it's general breakdown. I'm not disagreeing with Dr. Wallach. This is not a disagreement. You get that, AJ?
I'm very clear on that. I just want people to know. I just want people to know why that's not the first thing that Dr. Wallach is very big on giving you a fix. Pharmacist Ben is very good on teaching you what the mechanism is so that you understand why the fix.
Yes, and fairness, Dr. Wallach, I'm not in Dr. Wallach's league. I'm not going to purport to be anywhere near the expert that Dr. Wallach is. So, I'm not contradicting anything he says, but I want you to understand how everything works. That's my goal. The meaning of the word doctor is teacher. And so that's what I'm not a doctor, but that's what doctors should be doing. That's what
I've had this conversation, this direct, exact conversation with Doc. And he says that the people watching won't understand. And I say there's some, he's absolutely correct. When he's on Coast to Coast, I talk to people. They say, listen, I don't want to know the mechanism. Just give me the stuff.
Yes.
And then there are people who are watching us who want to understand the mechanism. So I'm hoping, Wyoming Annie, that helped you. I'm hoping also there's somebody in the chat who also asked about tinnitus, Roberto, and also the email we got in about tinnitus. So that's 3 birds in 1 stone.
Okay, where you see the problem, if from a healing perspective, where you see the problem, whether it's tinnitus or stenosis or osteoporosis of the skull or whatever it is not where the problem begins. The one exception is the digestive system, because that's the beginning. So if you have a digestive problem, that's a digestive problem. There's nothing upstream of the digestive system. That's the root, the soil. It's interesting because what is the main components of soil on the ground, the main living components of soil on the ground? Microbes,
okay.
Bacteria, fungi, viruses. They live in the soil. Guess what? Your intestine is like the soil. What do the bacteria in the soil do? They make the dirt healthy. They fix nitrogen, and they break down organic material and release the minerals. The bacteria, the microbes in the soil give us life. Likewise, the microbes in the intestine do the same thing. The intestine represents the soil. And the bugs in this dirt outside in your garden are analogous to the microbes in the intestine. And when I say all disease begins in the intestine, what I'm really talking about is dysbiosis. It all begins with the bacteria. I'm saying the intestine because the bacteria live in the intestine, but it's really the bacteria. That's really where it all begins, is in dysbiosis.
I have a mechanism question before I get to Julio's question, which relates to the blood. I have a mechanism question. When you talked about the protein being filled by minerals, um, loosely, the collagen being the structure of the collagen being supported by minerals. Is that a good assessment of kind of what you said?
The structure of yes, it's like a net, like a mesh,
So,
and
so,
the minerals get inserted in the net, in the mesh, and the mesh is made up of collagen and there's other proteins too, but largely collagen.
so Barbara is asking, does it take mega doses of calcium and other nutrients to remineralize
Oh
teeth?
yeah, that's how we got to talking about this. I forgot that. So here's the thing. The bones don't just remineralize. Calcium is an alkalinizing agent. Under conditions of duress, whether that duress is nutritional deficiency, whether that duress is hypoxia, low levels of oxygen, whether that duress is toxicity, any kind of stress, duress, I call it, but any kind of stressors, duress, something that's burdening the body, acids will accumulate. Why? Because acids are wastes. And the more a cell is working, the harder a cell is working, particularly under conditions of deficiency, when it's under duress, when it has a lot of work to do, it'll start to produce a lot of acid. Acid's a waste product. When cells die, they release their acid. As the metabolic conditions start to deteriorate in the body, particularly low levels of oxygen, in addition to toxicity, acids start to accumulate in the blood. When acids accumulate in the blood, this represents a major point of danger because the blood pH, the acid level of the blood, has to be kept just so. Did I lose you?
I'm here, Ben.
Okay, I didn't lose you. The pH of the blood, the acid level of the blood has to be kept just so, 7.38. Very, very tightly controlled. As the blood becomes more acidic from all this waste and dead cells and stress and toxicity, the bones will release their calcium to neutralize or alkalinize the acid. The calcium plus acid neutralizes and raises the acid and raises the pH. But now you got the bones become weaker. So it's the acid that's weakening the bones, and it's the toxicity and the malnutrition and the lack of oxygen that are causing the acid or causing the cells to work so hard that they're producing acid. So you want to regard osteoporosis, softening of the bones, so-called demineralization, as a sign of toxic blood, dirty blood. That's the cause of so-called demineralization. It's not like it's an accident. It's a very important mechanism for keeping the blood alkaline. And that means anything you can do to alkalinize the blood is going to improve osteoporosis. And one of the best ways to alkalinize the blood is to make sure don't put a lot of stressors on cells, on the system. And that means your healthy start pack, and that means oxygenation, and that means making sure that you're exercising and making sure that you're resting, the fourfold square of health. Nutriate, respirate, move, and rest.
Okay, that's fantastic. Annie, he kind of talked about macular hole in the eye being connective tissue.
Yes, the macula is the center of the eye, and the eye is a little bit different than the rest of the body. You know, when we talk about the systemic nature of disease, the eye is a little different because it's the only part of the body that is susceptible. It's the eye in general is the only part of the body susceptible to the forces of light, and so you have an extra stressor on the eye that you don't have on the other parts of the body. So the eye is a little bit different. The macula, macular degeneration, the macula, you can regard that when you have macular degeneration as a sign that the blood is toxic, that it's malnourished, that you're malnourished, and you're hypoxic, the same things that cause everything else. And it's no accident that diabetes and macular degeneration, in fact, diabetes and eye disease in general, go hand in hand. That's all you really need to know. That's your triangle right there. Now, there are nutrients you can take for the macula. The macula's got these yellow and red pigments in it: zeaxanthin, lutein. There's a couple others. Both they're basically reds and yellows. So you can get your red and yellow pigments, and those will help. Especially as we get older, reds and yellow pigments are they're hard to get. They're hard to extract from foods, especially for women. So braising your veggies in coconut oil or butter before you eat them can help release some of those pigments that are so important for eye health and also for skin health as well. We have great products for macular, for pigments, the Occutive and the Vision FX. And then you showed me that other one that I forgot it's called, Ultimate HGA. What's it called? Ultimate Youth. I think it's called Ultimate Youth. It's pigment.
HGA Youth Complex. Well,
It's the pigment powders.
Well, we have the fruit and vegetable powder that has a lot of colors from pigments in there. But
Yeah, the pigments are how you deal with the macula and also blood sugar, because the relationship of diabetes to all eye problems and connective tissue deterioration.
I missed my buddy James's question. He had called me earlier today, and he's on now, and he asked about cataracts. He
Same
said
deal.
he was disappointed because you said, you're probably going to have to get surgery.
Unless you want to live with cataracts. You're not going to reverse. There are people, I've heard people say they can reverse cataracts and this and that. I don't know how that can be done, because cataracts are it's like a crack in your windshield. It's a damage. The protein is damaged. It's glycated. And so I've never heard of it happening, reversing cataracts. I mean, I never actually talked to anybody who had their cataracts reversed. I've heard people say it, but I didn't really actually talk to anybody about it. Cataracts, yeah, you do need to put a new lens on, but be really careful. My mom, like I think I told you, my mom actually became blind from a surgical mishap for her cataracts. So
James mentioned that he couldn't see the White House across the street last year. This year, after taking the supplements, the selenium, the vision.
It's not cataract. Then he may have improved his vision, but it's not like his cataracts. It wasn't cataracts. It went away. You're not going to put in the cells of the lens are not going to repair themselves.
All right. So our good buddy Julio is asking, for this dirty blood issue and a quick fix for chronic issues, do you recommend ozone blood cleansing?
Ozone's great. Yeah, ozone's great. Chelation therapy is great for cleaning the blood. If you want to
hydrocolonic.
Colonics are awesome. Absolutely. Colonics are really, really awesome. All those are great quick fixes. I had a friend, I got food poisoning maybe 20 years ago on New Year's Eve. I had this friend, she wasn't even a friend, she was a friend of a friend, and she came to spend New Year's Eve with me. It was like I was fixed up by one of my longevity person. She fixed me up with this lady. She said, we talked on the phone for a while, and she's going to come to Colorado and she's going to spend New Year's Eve. And I got all excited, and I ended up getting food poisoning.
Did she do the cooking?
No, we went out and I got food poisoning. And right around like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, New Year's Eve, I got so sick. I don't know if you ever had food poisoning, but it turns out that this gal, it was very embarrassing. Let's leave it at that. I mean, when you got food poisoning, it's just awful. So anyway, this gal is embarrassed enough, but it turns out that this gal was a colonic therapist. And she talked me into at that point, it was embarrassing, but I was going to argue with her. She said, get yourself a colonic. And I didn't want to do it, but she was a colonic therapist.
That night?
The next day. Okay. And the next day. And I remember not wanting to do it, but she was a pro. That was her deal. It wasn't very dignified, but anyway, I did it. And you know what? It was the most incredible thing. I felt like I wasn't 100% improved, but I was like a good 90% improved just from the colonic. And I became a big fan of colonics.
Was she there holding your hand?
She was there. She watched everything.
Oh, no way.
The whole thing. She was a pro. That's what she did for a living. She was a colonic therapist.
Yeah, I guess.
But I learned how I became a big fan after that. And I've had I don't know, probably a dozen since then. That I don't have them all the time, but every few years I'll have a colonic. They're amazing, absolutely amazing. Ozone can clean the blood, but the best way is to chelate the blood. You can do EDTA, which is something they inject in you, but you can also do oral EDTA, and then there are nutrients that will chelate. Chelation means to magnetically attract, and there's wonderful chelating agents that you can use that are nutrients. Vitamin C is a chelating agent. Selenium, sulfur, N-acetylcysteine are all chelating agents. And one of the best detoxifiers that nobody ever talks about as a detoxifying substance for the blood or anywhere else, plant-derived minerals. They're a natural detox. One of the ways they work is toxins stick to them. They magnetically attract toxins, and that's PTT, plant-derived minerals, blood cleaning agent. And then also enzymes can clean the blood, bromelain or digestive enzymes, and also the enzymes in the nightly essence, nattokinase helps clean the blood.
Fantabulous. Blake and JC's laughing. Christy, I took Pharmacist Ben's advice to drop some pounds with intermittent fasting. It worked so well that I had to slow down because I was getting too thin. This was a few years ago. I kept most of it off. Thank you, Ben.
Okay. Well, what's the problem? Was there a problem? Or is it just sounds great?
It doesn't sound like there's a problem. Yeah. And then Genified says, I was listening to several episodes of Becca and Ben today. You are wonderful for sharing your knowledge with us.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Blake and JC, is diastolic heart a connective tissue issue as well?
Wait a minute. What's diastolic heart? What does that mean?
I'm guessing a diastolic heart condition.
Well, there's diastolic and systolic refer to two parts of the two aspects or the two complementary aspects of blood pressure.
I guess you're saying diastolic heart failure or heart failure with preserved.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Diastolic heart failure. Okay, so what was the question? Is it an example of what?
Is it a connective tissue problem as well?
Yes. This heart sits on a skeleton of connective tissue. So the connective tissue supports all the electrical energy that's linked to the heart, to the heartbeat and the heart and the ejection fraction. But even more importantly, when we hear the word connective tissue, we obviously think connect. But here's something we have to understand about the connective tissue. The connective tissue, which is technically called the matrix, connective tissue matrix, the connective tissue is made up of a matrix and fibers. I call it fibers and goo. Just like you have cement with like stuff inside of it, rebar inside of it. That's how the connective tissue is built. The fibers give the goo strength. The goo is like gooey. It's like jelly. And then that goo is strengthened with hard fibers, mostly collagen, but also elastin and reticulin, which gives stretch and pull and various kinds of properties, flexible properties to the connective tissue. So here's what everybody misses, and it's so important. The connective tissue is the part of the body that feeds all the cells, that oxygenates all the cells, and that detoxifies the cells. So when the connective tissue deteriorates, none of the cells get fed properly. Let me just finish real quick. When the connective tissue deteriorates, none of the cells get oxygenated properly. And when the connective tissue deteriorates, toxicity does not get removed. The connective tissue is like a womb. It's like and cells are embedded in the womb like a fetus is embedded into a mother's womb. And the word matrix means womb. So the connective tissue is not just connecting. When it deteriorates, we lose the ability to feed our cells, to oxygenate our cells, and to detoxify our cells. And the connective tissue also generates electrical charges. So we lose electricity when our connective tissue deteriorates. And the connective tissue, maybe most importantly, certainly as importantly, structures and organizes the water. The water in the body is not just water, not just tap water that you drink, that you turn on and drink. It's a special water that operates like an organ. Like you have a water organ. All the water molecules, the H2O molecules, are structured by the collagen. So it forms this solid water. Can you imagine this? Like it's a gel-like water. It's not a solid. It's not a liquid. It's like right in between. It's a water that's got body to it. And that body generates electricity and allows the water to become like a battery. And that water is structured in order for it to manifest these coherent, it's called coherency, these coherent properties by collagen and connective tissue. So when the connective tissue deteriorates, our cells don't get fed, they don't get oxygenated, they don't detoxify properly, they don't get electrified appropriately, and the water loses its coherency, which is why as we age, we blobify. I call it blobification, right? And you can see this is what people are terrified about as they get older. They blobify. Now you're still a young man, AJ. You haven't blobified yet, but have you seen it?
Blobby.
You're certainly not as like, when you're younger, you're like lean. I saw a picture of myself. I found a random picture of myself when I was like 28, 29. I was like this. I was like lean and mean. Now, not so much, I'm blobifying. And that's what happens as you get older. We blobify. And that blobification is following or secondary to connective tissue deterioration. It is the very essence of the aging process and represents everything we hate about aging and represents the most important cause of our ultimate demise is connective tissue deterioration, which means building the connective tissue is the single most important thing you can do for good health. And that's where the Healthy Start Pack comes in. The Healthy Start Pack comes in, the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack, two very, very important and underappreciated supplements for building connective tissue. Number one, the Fucoid Z. Fucoid Z contains sulfate. Anywhere you have sulfate, that's going to help you build and strengthen really your connective tissue, not build it, but strengthen it. And then you can't make connective tissue without your vitamin CFX or your Beyond Tangy Tangerine. And for you ladies who want skincare products, that's why fat-soluble vitamin C is so important for the skin.
Pharmacist Ben, don't think you're escaping. Just as far as that heart thing goes, Blake says the heart is strong, but it won't relax.
The heart is strong, but it won't relax. Is this the guy with the diastolic issue?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if your heart's not relaxing, that means that your sympathetic fight or flight nervous system is out of whack. Now, it could have to do with electrolytes, and I don't know the answer, but there's a few things that can cause that. The first thing I think about is an overactive stress nervous system, sympathetic nervous system. The second thing I would think about is something with your electrolytes. The third thing I would think about is something with your heart cells. All disease is cell disease at the end of the day, whether it's your heart or any other part of the body. So I would have to ask you some more questions, but nobody has a cardiovascular problem by itself. The cardiovascular system is not part of the triangle, which means it's secondary to or following digestive issues, blood sugar issues, and adrenal thyroid issues. So you have to work on those levels because once again, first principle, where you see the problem is not where the problem begins. So for this gentleman, if he wants to get on a call where we can actually talk to each other, come on Daily with Doc on Friday.
Blake, send an email to questions@dailywithdoc.com and we will help you out. That's questions@dailywithdoc.com. A couple more. Kevin, a friend of mine has an ascending aortic aneurysm. It's not large enough to be operated on. Is there anything?
Yeah, it might not be large enough to operate on, but he definitely wants to do something about it. So what's an aneurysm? What's an aneurysm? Do you know what an aneurysm is?
I'm gonna say an aneurysm is a breakage, but
absolutely, it's a breakage. It's not. It's a ballooning actually inside in a blood vessel. In this case, in the aorta, which is a very, very important blood vessel, obviously. So an aneurysm is a ballooning kind of like the blood goes this way, but then it kind of balloons out, and that's called an aneurysm.
Okay.
Aortic aneurysms can be very, very serious, and the problem with an aneurysm is it could burst. The blood vessel could burst, and then you end up with a stroke or dead. So, and by the way, the worst thing to happen is a stroke. Being dead is better than a stroke. So I shouldn't say that, but some strokes you wish you were dead. I mean, I have friends who have strokes, and I have one guy in particular. He can't move his right arm. He's like paralyzed. Can you imagine this? And he walks around like that, but not able to move his right arm.
I know.
And then it's just
Like
these
that,
horrible things can happen, or you go blind, or just terrible things can happen. So an aneurysm represents exactly what we just talked about. What is it that gives the blood vessels their strength? The connective tissue. Aneurysms are a sign of deteriorating connective tissue. It's osteoporosis of the aorta. Okay, it's a weakening of the connective tissue in the aorta in the blood vessels. Healthy bone and joint pack, but I can tell you the supplements to take. It's all the connective tissue building supplements, branched chain amino acids, the CFX, the Fucoid Z, et cetera, et cetera. And by the way, Fucoid Z is a great blood thinner too, great for improving fluidity of the blood. But as long as there's toxicity in the blood, it's going to react with the cells of the aorta, leading to inflammation, leading to weakness. So you got to clean the blood too. So yes, the healthy bone and joint pack and all the connective tissue building supplements, but make sure you're cleaning the blood. If you have digestive issues, which you probably do, you got to patch up the leaky gut because that's the source of the toxicity. Sugar represents a toxicity, particularly a toxin, particularly for connective tissue. So glycation of they call them the endothelial cells. Those are the cells on the inside of the blood vessels. They can glycate. They can get disturbed by sugar. So cleaning the blood becomes very important. Have you noticed that I repeated myself over and over again, right?
I love hearing it.
Okay, good. But I'm glad I'm not boring you or anybody. But what I want you to see is that it's the same stuff. It's always the same stuff. Don't be deluded. Don't fall for this idea that we got to go to this specialist and this doctor and got to work on this system and that system. It's all generic. The body is a system, and it's all connected. Yes.
I'd like to hear you repeat yourself one more time. Yeah. What do you suggest someone with two bulging discs in T4 and T5? They're in constant pain.
So I hate to repeat myself and beat a dead horse here. It's connective tissue. When the discs bulge, that means the connective tissue is weakened and the discs are popping through. And that's a common thing as we get older. Our connective tissue deteriorates and things start popping through. That's what a hernia is. That's what a rupture is. With women, all the organs are in the connective tissue like fruit in a Jello mold. I haven't seen a Jello mold since I was a kid, really. I don't know if they still have Jello molds, but you know what I'm talking about? We have Jello and you have pineapple. Yeah, right?
They make them.
Well, what do you think Jello is? Jello is collagen from a horse or a cow. It's connective tissue. What's that?
They use porcine.
Just reading. Or they use horse for glue. They use cow collagen, whatever it is. Collagen is Jello is connective tissue. And in the body, the organs are like pineapples and oranges, and they're all sitting in the connective tissue. You can actually have, as we get older, and especially women, prolapses. You know what a prolapse hernia, a prolapse a bladder is, or prolapse uterus is? Your pineapple drops because the connective tissue breaks down. Aging is largely connective tissue deterioration. The very essence of anti-aging is building the connective tissue. If you want to do one thing for the strength and the integrity of the body, not just the skeletal system, that's what everybody thinks of, but remember the connective tissue is nurturing like a matrix, like a womb. It's nurturing all the cells. It's the womb for the cells. So when you build connective tissue, you're building the womb. And by the way, that's what bone soup is, connective tissue building. All the substances in cartilage, when you make your bone soup or your chicken soup, all the cartilage substances dissolve in the water. And the water or the broth or the soup is powerful connective tissue building medicine. Bone soup, chicken soup with the not Campbell's, with the real chicken. And if you want to do it quickly, just get a pre-cooked chicken, those rotisserie chickens, drop it in the pot and let it simmer till the meat comes off the bones, throw in your favorite veggies, and just live on that soup. It's the most powerful anti-aging and immune boosting food as a bonus that you could ever enjoy.
Pharmacist Ben, I know I see the hand up.
Thank you.
I see the hand up. I know you want to go, but just based on everything you said, everything that you heard, tell the folks, tell the folks the strategy. Fix the gut. I would say ultimately.
Always start with the intestine for two reasons: toxicity and malnourishment. Remember,
Give us
go
a
ahead.
mechanism to fix the gut.
How, like strategies for fixing the gut?
Strategy to fix
mechanism. Number one, food diary. And write down when you're eating, write down how you feel after you eat certain foods. If you notice digestive issues, heartburn, bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, it may take you 8 to 12 hours to notice things. It may take you a couple weeks before you start to see patterns. Eliminate those foods. If you fast for a day or two and before you start doing your food diary, you'll notice things more clearly. They'll be more dramatic or profound. They'll stand out a little bit more if you fast first. That's the first step always. Then you're going to eliminate the problem foods. Then you patch up the leaky gut. And you do that with collagen peptides, with ultimate EFAs, with your Fucoid Z, with your TMR shake, whey protein. There's lots of ways to build the gut, which is largely connective tissue, by the way, in addition to mucosa. And then you use things that help stabilize the bacteria in the gut. I-26, a must-have for all digestive health issues. And then also the ultimate microbiome, the fiber, to help feed the bacteria. And then, of course, the nightly essence, which is my favorite of the probiotics. But now they've got a few different probiotics. I like the nightly essence. That's my favorite one. Then you work a little bit upstream with your ultimate enzymes, which will help you with your pancreas and your liver, as well as the stomach. And always sip on Beyond Tangy Tangerine with your meals, and they'll activate the ultimate enzymes. The ultimate enzymes need acid to be activated. The Beyond Tangy Tangerine will help acidify the ultimate enzymes and also acidify your food. So acidification and nutrition while you're eating will support digestion. And then eat as little as possible. The less you eat, the longer you live. Just eat as little as possible. And I'm not preaching the choir because I'm addicted to food as much as the next guy. And I find myself having to fight that urge, but it's something you got to do if you're not healthy as you want to be, and if you want to live a long life. Then you stabilize the blood sugar. That's the next step, is work on the blood sugar. Keep your intake of fast-burning carbohydrates down. Fructose is a big problem. I was talking to somebody about oxalates earlier today. One of the major reasons why people have problems with oxalates and oxalate stones is from fructose, fruit sugar. So making sure that you're keeping yourself, fructose actually gets converted into oxalates. So making sure that you're careful with fruits and staying away from high fructose corn syrup, in addition to breads and sweets and potatoes and things that break down into sugar. Use your sweeties, drink water after meals, take a walk or exercise after meals. The muscles act as a sink for blood sugar. And remember, they don't test for insulin. They test for sugar, but not for insulin. You can't really test for insulin. So you may have normal blood sugar, but your insulin could be high, and elevated insulin has its own health challenges, including cancer and heart disease. So keeping your blood sugar stable using the sweeties, the ultimate niacin, ultimate selenium, healthy blood sugar pack, etc. Fucoid Z, all these can help you with your blood sugar. And then make sure that you're breathing, practicing your slow, deep rhythmic breathing exercises, doing some exercise, not a lot, meditating, relaxing, resting, activating the vagus nerve, the parasympathetic nervous system, wherever possible. I mean, those are basically your strategies for living a good long life, as well as for reversing pretty much starting the reversal process for any chronic degenerative disease.
Folks, you just got $1 million worth of information. If you need some help, call us 855-949-3377. Anybody else that's got a question, email questions@dailywithdoc.com. Thank you, Pharmacist Ben.
Thank you.
That was power packed, and we will
Friday.
see.
And the guy we were going to talk to about the diastolic or about the heart issue.
You just did mention
whoever that was. Join us on Friday.
Okay.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, guys. See you on Friday on Daily with Doc.